You're teaching a class in this subject at Ball State, is that right?
Right. It's called the Negro in America. It's a upper division and graduate course that's being taught this winter quarter.
Now, I know from talking to several Negroes that they're very much interested in this subject. They want to know about their history. Are Negroes the only ones who come to your class, or do you find that white people are also interested in finding out about the Negro history, especially in America?
Well, to date, the enrollment's been primarily white. That is, that there are a great many people that are interested in Negro history, and including white people. I think perhaps, and I find my course designed this way, that it's more for the white than the Negro student, in the sense that the Negro student perhaps has more conception of his own history than the white student. So in many ways, the Negro student is better prepared.
Hey everybody, this is Mike from Reelblack, and with me on the line is...
This is Charles Woods. Peace and blessings. How's everyone?
Now, I wanted to talk to you real quick about some of the things that were happening in the news, but before you sign off or make your comments, and we do encourage the comments, I just want to let you know that I'm going to be in New York to see Charles this Monday, June 4th. Very special event. If you're in New York, I have the opportunity to be there. I believe tickets are still available at the Strand Bookstore website. A very exciting conversation between Sean King, Michael Eric Dyson, and the great Harry Belafonte. So it's a book signing, and it's in New York, and the link will be in the description. But if you're in New York and you can make it, please come. It's a once-in-a-lifetime thing to hear these three giants talk in relation to Michael Eric Dyson's book. But the reason I called you tonight, Charles, is because there's so much happening in the news today, and I felt like our viewers, our listeners would want to hear your opinions about them.
I just want to take this opportunity right quick because I know you're busy, and I just want to say that I apologize for saying what I had to say because it's hypocritical in calling Bill a piece of shit.
Okay.
Okay, because I always say to the viewers that we learn from their comments, and we respect their comments because it's not, as far as I'm concerned, I don't feel I'm someone who knows everything. The one thing that drives me to learn is the fact that I know I don't know everything. And I'm always seeking to learn. And it's important that we as human beings learn how to be critical thinkers and not just accept what we want to hear, but to be able to know that what we're hearing has some validity, some empirical proof, some way we can discern fact from fiction. So I just want to get that out the way. What I stand by is the fact that I'm not going to give anyone a pass and to say that everything that's happening to someone is a consequence of racism, white racism. I'm not going to go there. No, I'm not going to go there. Okay?
As Sammy Davis Jr. said in the theme of Beretta, don't do the crime if you can't do the time.
Or, as I told one person, I'm going to just throw right back at you the words of Bill Cosby. Don't blame white racism for everything. Okay, that's right out of his book with Alvin Poussaint in, Hey People, So that's from him. And a lot of people were upset with Brother Bill for a long time because, he was telling people how to live, how to conduct themselves. And then with this coming around, you just can't say that it's a result of racism because he tried to buy NBC, all of that. It's the same thing I said. If we go there, then we have to defend R. Kelly for the same reason and say, here's another black man they're trying to bring down. That kind of that logic doesn't work for me. You follow what I'm saying?
Well, exactly. I mean, I feel that's what, in terms of I feel like every 4 or 5 months, I've got to go on a rant just to say, like, look, you can have your beliefs, you can feel a certain way, but not on this page. We put a lot of time and thought and energy, and we're privileged to, because of the viewership, to try and invoke some critical thinking. So if your go-to is I'm just going to defend this person strictly on race without any consideration to any other factor, then yeah, I have a problem with that too. And what got me riled up, and I'll continue to be riled up, Charles, is that for that reason, I think, well, first off, it's very derogatory to call anybody a coon. And I think that it's when people do that, clearly it's they're trying to trigger you into a reaction. So I'm just meeting the energy where it's at. I think that's why I shut down the comments on the Gary Owen page and opened up another conversation with the radio show where we can get into things. But look, I admit too, I don't do everything right, but I reserve the right to do things. And I think that maybe I'm not going to take Roseanne's side, but I did get into a conversation with somebody who was defending Roseanne, who'd never got a sense that she had done anything racist, which I think is questionable. Even though she was a top-rated show on ABC, she's messing up the money too much. They had to let her go. So, I mean, your feelings about that?
Well, as I said, we have to be careful how we react, okay? Because the conservatives are going to come out, and we have to listen to what they're saying, because a lot of times you have to listen whenever someone wants to defend someone, if there's any legitimacy to their defense. As I told you before, sometimes we can overreact to certain things because we jump to the wrong conclusions. Let me make this clear. I told you there was an incident involving the Planet of the Apes where a viewer was watching a movie on Netflix, and after the film ended, they have these suggestions that pop up. If you like this, you may like this film. Now, the particular film that this individual was watching had dealt with racial issues, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The pop-ups that came, one of them was Planet of the Apes. Al Sharpton jumped in the fray, and he was upset, and he wanted to condemn Netflix for doing this. And I got in touch with the newspaper, and I said, hey, let's step back a minute here. That is a valid suggestion. If you're dealing with racial themes, Planet of the Apes is a legitimate recommendation.
Okay, but now the tweet that Roseanne sent out, and she claims she did this at 2 in the morning after taking Ambien and stuff. I mean, sometimes I think that Twitter should have, just for celebrities, like a 7-second delay, right? That way, if they hit the send button, they have about 7 seconds to retract it, because at this point your career could be in jeopardy based off of one brain fart. But perhaps this shows her true colors. Muslim Brotherhood and Planet of the Apes had a baby. It equals VJ, alluding to
Right.
Valerie Jarrett. And that's a very sensitive issue. I mean,
To
Obama
who?
was called. Well, Obama. A lot of the Tea Party people they called Obama an ape. A lot of times that's a go-to. I know in the podcast we just shot on Black Panther. There's an ape illusion. I think people are sensitive about that.
They're sensitive to, because right away the title says Planet of the Apes, and we've been alluded to apes for so long, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we're not the only group of people whom white racists call apes.
Mm-hmm.
They used to call the Irish apes. They used to compare them to apes. Did you know that?
I wasn't familiar. I wasn't aware. No.
Okay, I mean, that's something people need to look up. The other thing is, we jump to the ape thing, and we're not even focusing on the Muslim Brotherhood thing. Okay?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Okay. The other factor is this. Valerie Jarrett doesn't even look black.
Yeah, she's African American. Her parents are African American, but she was born in Iran, so
She was
it's a little
born in Iran,
confusing.
but if you look at Valerie Jarrett, you wouldn't even think she was black.
Yeah.
Okay?
Mhm.
Where am I going with this?
Mhm.
Well, one of the most revered black people in the history of America
Mhm.
is Muhammad Ali.
Yes.
Okay? Muhammad Ali always said he was beautiful. Why did he say he was beautiful? Because of his light skin and the fact that he could say that was pretty because it was close to whiteness.
Mhm.
Okay? Now, who did he call a gorilla?
Well, Joe Frazier, Philly's own.
Okay? All right. Well, that was a big joke. Certainly wasn't to Joe Frazier. And it certainly wasn't anything I found funny. And I'm a light-skinned mulatto, as they say. And that upsets me to no end. What the conservatives can rightly say is this: it's a double standard. It's the same thing we keep fighting over this N-word. We have a number of brothers who want to say, I'm taking it over. I'm not going to let it beat me. We're not going to let it be used against us. But as soon as Whitey says it, they're ready for all-out war. But we can end ourselves to death. If we can end ourselves to death, I guess, in other words, what we're saying is, like the song goes, don't call me nigger, Whitey. Don't call me Whitey nigger, right?
Mm-hmm.
In other words, if it takes a nigger to call someone a nigger, right? In other words, it's okay when we use it, right? Because even this
Well,
stupid fool,
that's the rule. Yeah, we get to use it and they can't.
Iguodala just you familiar with basketball? What happened with
Sixers.
Iguodala?
I didn't see it. No.
Okay, Iguodala, he just used the term, and he referred to his white coach as the master, and this is why Baba Dick say he can't stand these athletes because you got a bunch of high-paid, ignorant, dumb jocks. Okay, but the thing is, here's where I'm going with this. We did a thing, and we haven't finished it. Everyone's waiting on my reaction to Black Panther. How many black people jumped up, got upset when Lupita Nyong'o called the black man who they want to make look like an ape in that film when she called him a gorilla? You dig what I'm saying? And I'm not defending Roseanne Barr. I'm not defending her in no way, shape, or form.
You're just saying there's no uniformity in terms of what gets criticized and what gets a pass.
Exactly. What I told you before, one of the things that I'm very upset with is the fact that we're quick to get upset when we have these illusions made by whites that are pejorative. In other words, there's always this comparison of blacks to apes, and this is nothing. This has been in the news for the longest. This has been going on. That Roseanne is just maybe the eighth or ninth person, a celebrity or a politician connected with this illusion, right? This reference. But the thing is, as I said before, when we do it to ourselves, to me that hurts more than anything else. If you're going to say something, if you disagree with someone, at least make some sense when you say why you disagree with someone. Don't just attack someone. You know, I don't think you should have interviewed Gary Owen because of this, because of that.
Mm-hmm.
But don't jump to the conclusion because you interviewed him, all of a sudden you're not Reelblack, or whatever it is you intend to do with your station. You just expose yourself as a fake. You know, the reason why I subscribed is because I came to this channel because of Dick Gregory. I look to Dick Gregory as someone who can point me in the way. He can open my eyes to something I wasn't able to see, and I respect him for that. And that's what you're looking for. Great. But the thing is, as I told you before, a lot of times when you want to dismiss someone because of their color, then you're playing right into the hands of the people who hate us. Because that's what they want to do with us. They want to dismiss us because of our color, right?
Right.
And I always think about that title. I remember seeing when I was younger. It said, "The hate that hate produced." As you say, hurt people. Mm-hmm. They hate us, so I hate them. I hate them. And I told you the other day, it's one of the interviews, and you got so many great interviews on the channel, and you wonder if people are listening. If they're listening and paying attention and critically listening, they can learn so much. What's the professor I always say? What do you say? An ahistorical figure is a fool dangling. History. Do you know how many black people were able to escape slavery because of white allies?
Right.
Now, for me to say that, I'm quite sure somebody goes, "Here go this son of a gun again, defending Whitey." But all I'm saying is, just look into the history. Look, and then if they love Dick Gregory, then go and listen to what Dick Gregory, when Dick Gregory said one of the greatest human beings that ever lived on the face of this earth was who?
John Brown.
John Brown. That's from their man, Dick Gregory. Okay? And if anyone thinks that when the civil rights movement was able to flower into having a fruition of at least legislation that we could have in writing, if you are in your apartment and you say, "This is my apartment," and someone knocks on the door and says, "You no longer live here." What do you mean I don't live here? No, we're putting you out of this house. They can do that if you got nothing in writing that says that's your house. You follow what I'm saying?
Of course.
So the laws that we were able to get passed, none of that would have happened if we didn't have a lot of people, black, white, blue, purple, or whatever, that say what's happening to black folks in the South is wrong. What's happening to black folks, period, is wrong. Because you ain't going to get nowhere if you just if it's just blacks thinking that they decide to have a revolution. If they think they can have a revolution and it's just them waging war and they have no allies from anywhere, we won't last long.
That's the beauty of racism, because it's all about divide and conquer. Everybody has their own perspective on things.
Exactly.
And in this mode of discourse, where you're either right or you're wrong, there's nothing. And look, I laugh at it, but I just feel like if somebody punches you, you got to punch them back sometimes. But quite frankly, we get way more positive comments than we do.
Not only that, Mike, just think how many black people were sitting in the comfort of their homes, and you had whites that were a part of the sit-in movement, the freedom riders. Mm-hmm. You dig what I'm saying? And the black man who scares the powers that be are the black men that they assassinate. The black men like Malcolm X and Martin Luther King who can get everyone on board. That's the last thing they want. You know, when they have the thing where this man's got too much power.
Oh, yeah.
Because you know what? As I told you before, in this society, it's race-based. But it's not just race. It's class. But the way they can do the divide and conquer thing is they have blacks of the same class with whites. They're fighting each other over an issue of skin color, and we're not joining together and say, yeah, we need our unions, we need a national health plan. We all have one thing in common: we're all poor. we're all poor. There's no, you know, we're not benefiting from this capitalistic exploitative society, but we're fighting it. And not only that, what's even worse is we can't even have black folk unite. As I told you before, I'm trying to find the tape. There was a brother who wrote a book where he suggested that light-skinned blacks be separated from dark-skinned blacks.
Right. Well, you know, it's a form racism, a form of mental illness for sure. But we're all indoctrinated in it, and I think, I mean, the beauty of it is, even from the very first mini lecture that you did, I think people have always felt a certain way about things, but you have the empirical proof throughout the history of cinema that reinforces how we're programmed. And I think what's been great as the channel is evolving, the same conversation's been had forever, you know, since
Yes,
the beginning of time. I mean, and we're just talking about on YouTube, we're just talking about video, but I mean, you know, you've shown me newspaper clippings from the 30s and 40s and 20s where these same conversations are being had. So,
well, look, W.E.B. Du Bois. What did he say? The problem of the 20th century would be the problem of the color line, right?
right,
He was dismissed by Marcus Garvey because, you know, they were fighting over. They had their internal battles. One was accusing. Garvey was saying, well, he's not really a black man because of his light skin. Right there, that friction. And as I told you before, if we know in this country, they say if you got one drop of black blood in you, you're black, right? Okay, right, that's the rule. So the thing is, as I told you before, I remember listening to radio a long time ago. One of the earliest proponents of hate radio was Bob Grant. And he said something, I had to sit back and say, oh, shit. He said, you know, this is what he said. He said, it's amazing. Isn't it amazing how all these black people want to say that, oh, the first black man to do this was, let's say, Drew with the blood plasma, right? Yeah, but have you ever seen how Drew looked?
oh, he's mixed.
Walter White, who fought for civil rights. You ever see how he looked?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so now if the black nationalists want to say they're not legit, or if they want, at one time they want to adopt them because, well, we want to say, well, the black man did this, the first black man to do was, the first person to do this was a black man. And then when you see the black men that they want to say was the first black man, you look at them, by their standards, can you really say they're black? Because they look more white than black. Because
who their wife was and all that other stuff. Yes.
Not only that, as far as blacks are concerned, especially, and it still works today, Mike. Okay, because colorism still works today, but it was more pronounced centuries ago. The blacks who were able to make it were the ones they want to describe as your house niggas, the ones who had that light skin. A lot of them went to pass, or white people felt safer around them and stuff like that. As I told you, we can go somewhere, you and I together, mm-hmm. and you'll be subjected to more scrutiny than I would.
Perhaps,
because you're darker and you're bigger, you're more threatening looking. Okay, that's the reality. I know what it was like when I grew up. I was growing up, and a lot of people say, "Why are you so down on you know, why does it upset you so much when a dark black woman isn't projected in film and shown for the beauty she had? Why does that bother you? It bothers you so much." And I know where that's coming from. See, but it bothers me because I know from my life experience how easy I had it coming up with someone wanted to say, well, oh, he's my dreamboat because he got light skin and good hair. That BS. I know what it was like when I was in Vietnam and we had the Black Power movement, and how I had to kick some brothers' asses because they wanted to look at me and say, "Oh, you ain't black enough. Or why don't you let your hair grow in an afro?" And I couldn't grow an afro.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? Or if I
You one of
hadn't.
them Smokey Robinson looking guys back in the
But the
60s.
thing is, we went through a thing with blacker than thou and all this kind of stuff, and it became, rather than us uniting over this whole ethos of black is beautiful, it became this blacker than thou thing where, well, you ain't black enough. With respect to this ape thing, Rosanne's probably now saying, I didn't even know Valerie Jarrett was black.
Well, she know now. And the weird thing about it is, Charles, like a lot of the people that jump into these Twitter beefs, they never watch Roseanne, but they have an opinion about what she has to say. But unfortunately, the corporations they can't shut that kind of stuff down. They got to protect their money, so it's a done deal.
The numbers they had, especially with a certain demographic, it was unheard of. So I know it was painful from a monetary perspective to do this, but in this age of, like I said before, we're in a politically correct era, and a lot of things. If you say things that just don't make sense or they hurt people, the decent thing now with the 24/7 media is you just can't allow it to go on. The only one who can say whatever he wants to say and get away with it is Trump, and he already told you how rabid his supporters are. He could kill somebody and it'd be okay.
So I mean, as we move forward, it's just like public figures have to be careful when they tweet certain things that they realize that they're not just speaking to their base, or is it imperative upon these companies to figure out a form of damage control that doesn't involve destroying people's careers completely over a social media sensation? Because in the past it would take weeks for a story to develop that would cause such a scandal where you would have to fire somebody or call them to the carpet. Now it's a matter of
It's immediate.
hours.
Well, shit. Well, this was a tweet, right? Her own tweet, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I mean, it's immediate, and it's just what's the term? It goes viral, and it's all over. People can go on the computer, they can see it. It's in. She signed off on it. You know what I mean? Now, after she said what she had to say, now, oh shit, it wasn't me. Something I was taking made me say something. Oh, I didn't even know that she was black. It's got nothing to do with it. She's black. So now you're trying to come with a defense for what you said, but it's a new world. It's a new world. That's what I was saying.
Yeah, ask
before.
Kathy Griffin, ask Gilbert Gottfried.
Look at all these people. I mean, for example, you take we in New York, the Attorney General Eric Schneiderman. They had this information on him for the longest. And he's someone who's instrumental in going after Weinstein, Harvey Weinstein. Okay, but a lot of women were told not to say anything because it would hurt the Democratic Party. In fact, the conspiracy is that that they went after Snyderman because of him going after Weinstein.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is the Democrats, when they were going after Trump, then all of a sudden things came up. Al Franken, he had to resign, and now this thing, like I said, in New York. It's all a back and forth because, the old expression we had when we was coming up, you shoot my cat, well, I'm going after your dog.
Yeah.
But as you said earlier, man, if you want to run for office now, you better have some sort of a puritanical background.
It's pretty
Because
rough.
if
Yeah.
oh man,
Yeah.
to get vetted now,
Yeah.
oh
Well, I know you're busy today, so I'm not going to bring up Drake in blackface. I'll save that for the radio this
you're
Friday.
kidding, you're kidding.
They found an old picture of him from 10 years ago where he was in blackface.
Well, I can understand because he's a light skinned brother like me.
Well, he's in the midst of a battle rap. He's going back and forth with Pusha T, and
So maybe he didn't, he didn't do what maybe he want to get a little darker and that
oh no,
tanning
he's
wasn't
got the
working.
mammy lips and everything.
Oh my goodness.
I'm no authority, but I know the GEAL when it comes to dealing with the female. What you got, they want. Cash is what they need. Slip sucker and they'll break you with speed. But you meet a freak, you try to turn her out. Spending money's what I'm talking about. But you fool out, Pops got blew out. After the show, no boot, she got threw out. Man, you shook cause your duckers got took. You call her up, phone's off the hook. But who told you to front and blunt your grip? You can't buy no relationship. You played yourself. Come on, everybody. You played yourself. Ain't nobody else's fault. You played yourself.
I understand things change, but I don't think being respectful should ever change. All this, like you look like a struck match and all that kind of stuff.
Well, that was my feeling about if people are going to take sides against me for having Gary Owen. Well, look at what Michael Blackson talks about. I mean, I just think it's everybody. If you live long enough, there's going to be some dirt on you, right? So the way we react to celebrity and feel that we have the right to judge everything that comes on our feed, like we got to vote for it or thumbs up, thumbs down, like all that other stuff, I think it's crazy. Free speech begins with free thought, and you have to think. And sometimes the revision of thinking is what leads to the better answer, right? But to stay caught in your belief system without being open to other people's ideas, I think is a form of self-destruction. So I think that I like how I want to keep the channel as a place that is open for discourse, and I appreciate the fact that you in this conversation you've reconsidered some of the things that you spoke in an earlier podcast, and I reserve the right to do the same. For those who stuck through this long, some recommendations. There's a documentary on Amazon Prime called Can We Take a Joke, which deals with the Gilbert Gottfried situation. He was one of the first people to lose a job because of a tweet. He was the Aflac spokesman. He said something about the tsunami, and there was a whole documentary done in 2016 about how comedy, which is always about pushing taboo, has become super safe in this era of politically correctness. It's called Can We Take a Joke?
Well, how did Bill Maher end up on cable?
Oh well, yes. Similar. I think he's in the documentary as well. He with the show Politically Incorrect. He got it said something. So yeah, that's a great documentary. Also, the beginning of the most recent Dave Chappelle Netflix special, he discusses the Me Too movement, and he's like, look, I think he had some good thought about it. It's like, look, you can't keep attacking people, attacking one another based on race and sex and class and things without giving people a shot to tell their side of the story. It's not going to end well if we keep throwing things at one another. And look, capitalism doesn't care. They'll go where they're.
Here's a thought that came. We were discussing the thing with Howard Stern when he made those statements about the girls on the basketball team.
Well, that was the Don Imus.
Don Imus. And so the thing is, a lot of times we say, well, okay, if you hurt these guys, but they can't make any money, sometimes maybe the best thing is to hit them in the pocket, and take, when you hit them in the pocket, take that money and use it, put it in schools. These teachers can help teach the kids better. If you take Rosanne off, she had the #1 show. Okay, make her apologize, but hit them with a fine or something. Because the reason why I'm saying is this: a lot of times we react in a certain way, and then we applaud ourselves for, then we take this action. But the thing is, we need to look at maybe to do these things in step-by-step measures, different levels.
Perhaps. I did ask you to offer an alternative solution. I just think we're in a bad time. I mean, it really feels like,
And a lot of people lost their job behind that.
Yeah, they're not there. Then hundreds of people work on those shows.
And some people were threatening on leaving before this happened.
Well, if you're a bad boss, then people will quit. But I'm just saying, I think this era of political correctness is really bad for free speech. We talk about free speech, but free thought precedes it. And I think people have to be a little more responsible when they have social media in terms of what they say. There's no revision. Like writing, if you're going to do it as a term paper or an article, you would rewrite and rewrite. You'd have editors. I mean, I've written for people, and they just literally post exactly what I wrote without any consideration or notes. They just throw it up, and it's about so I think that's the era we live in, and I think that's problematic in terms of getting to the good stuff. But I think that this is not the first time that this happens. It's not going to be the last time. I think there's shades of gray to this. And I think that what's disgusting to me about it is that journalism, in the past, they would break the story. Now, a lot of stories that get published are basically fueled by social media. They're not fact-checked. They're not even really stories. They're not really even news. But even with the Weinstein thing, now there's corruption there where, but it implements a fear, So I'll take it away from what I'm about to say. But like when the British bands started taking over in the '60s, like with the Beatles and the Rolling Stones and stuff, like the guy we had on, Dave Davies, they got signed to a record deal because they were the next group to come in for an audition after the guy turned down the Beatles, right? And he's like, "Look, I don't know if this is good or not, but I don't be wrong about this. You guys got a deal." And I think a lot of times when it was reported that NBC said, "We're not going to run this story that Ronan Farrow is pushing about Harvey Weinstein because we don't know if there's news there," they got accused of covering, like trying to protect us, like, "Oh, we don't want to get hurt by this." But nowadays a libel suit ain't nothing. People they'll look at it, they'll say, "Oh, this is trending on Twitter. Can you write something up about it?" And then now things that are not fact checked or proven, people aren't given an opportunity to rebut. They get blasted out there, and we see the headline. We never see the retraction. And I think that folks need to be awfully careful because the rules of journalism and ethics are not applying, and people look at things that are written as if everything is factual, and a lot of it is legitimately fake news. So I think it's a very problematic time when images and ideas and thoughts can be manipulated, and I just want our channel to be a space. I'm never saying like everything's racist and everything. I'm just saying this is what happened in the past. Take a look at it. If you're having the same feelings and thoughts and conversations, it's part of the human condition. Nothing really changes. It's just how do we deal with the problem, So if you don't have a clear understanding of what your past was, then you're going to end up making a lot of the same mistakes. That's how I see it. But
yeah, well, as
history repeats.
As I told one of the viewers, I think you responded also. I try to be able to support anything I put up there on the many lessons. I think that's what a lot of people like, that the fact that it's supported with empirical, concrete evidence. I've learned a long time ago there's no absolutes in this world. Some people want to see just black, some people want to just see white. We have to understand that, yes, there's gray. if someone does not like what you say or I say, I always say, let me hear how you think about it. Let's be respectful. Let's respectfully disagree. But it's better, as I tell a lot of people, it's better to debate without conclusion than to conclude without debate. We're not monolithic. We all have our different experiences. We can all be black, but not all experience life the same way. I, as a black man, experienced life different than maybe you did, and as I mentioned, the reason why that could be a factor. But the thing is, we can learn from each other, but we have to learn how to respect each other. And there's so much that can happen when we learn. I was in leadership for a long time. I had to deal with the kids, teach them how to resolve issues without fighting, resorting to name calling and whatnot. And I'm not the first one to say this, but when someone says it's better that we turn to each other than to turn on each other, let's look for ways to find solutions. But don't knock my way if you don't agree with it. I'm not going to knock your way if I don't agree with it. What's the plus and minuses of what we're suggesting, and how can we formulate a better way of having things resolved where everyone benefits from it? But for someone just to go and say, I don't like what he said, I don't like what he did, I don't like this channel because they got so and so up there.
Yeah, and it's only one or two people that are saying that. So. But
And I don't want to. And this is why I was apologizing. If I'm saying I don't want the ad hominem attack, that's why I apologize, because that was an ad hominem attack to call Brother Bill a piece of SHIT, because this man has done a lot for a lot of people, and it's regrettable that his legacy is being tainted. I wasn't there. I don't know what happened with a lot of these women. That can be offered as by a lot of people, like, we don't know. And that always pertains. But the thing is, what I'm saying is, if I don't want people to call me a piece of SHIT, I had no right to call him one. Just no matter how much I may know about him or how I personally feel, all I had to do is say, well, I just never liked the man because of the things I knew about him. But that was on the negative side.
So you just crossed the line there. I got
yes.
you. All right, so real quick, because we just talk over an hour now.
You sure can talk.
Oh, shut up, nigga. Kneeling, NFL. Any? I know you paid attention to that. I had a big story a couple days ago. That they actually made it a rule that if you're gonna kneel, you got to do it in the locker room. We can't be out in the field doing that stuff.
What's happening in this country right now, and this is why they always tell you have to pay attention. If you want good government, you have to be a people who are aware of what's going on in society. That goes all the way back to Washington and Jefferson. You have to. That's what civics is all about. This country that wants to consider itself the elite country in the world, we have people who, what it is as far as voting is concerned. Very few people, relatively speaking, vote. Okay. Mm-hmm. A lot of people don't even know what the hell's going on. They don't know the issues. This man should not be in office, and he's in office because people, either it was a protest vote or people vote against their own interests and whatnot. But the thing is, as far as kneeling is concerned, that should be something they have a legitimate right to do. It's got nothing to do with people fighting in the Army. I don't feel upset. I fought in the Army, and I tell you, a lot of these sons of guns, just like me, When I was in Vietnam, I damn sure didn't want to be there. In fact, they almost had to slap me with an AWOL charge because I reported late. Okay, and I shouldn't have been there because I'm an only child. My health wasn't in the best shape. But as they said in the Free State of Jones, key line, and a lot of people didn't see that film, but as I told you before, one of the key lines in there is that we have poor people fighting the wars rich people start. And it's the poor people's kids who are fighting these wars. Trump, you know how many times he got out of even going into the army, all right? Telling these, putting this restriction on kneeling, that's against freedom of speech.
But is,
you know,
is it racist? Do you see racism as a core factor of this, or is it the powers that be from your standpoint?
No, first of all, it's racism. When they announced this, isn't it funny that the day they announced this, what was the incident they had with the Sterling, the basketball player, was getting his ass whipped by some police. Okay, it sounded like the actors because they got the similar name, Sterling Brown.
Right. Yeah. So
right?
the two forces at work. One, the NFL gets a lot of money from the government to promote the whole flag thing. Right. The whole idea of bringing the flag out is something that the U.S. Army and the government said, we'll give you money to do this. So to have the protest is kind of a slur on that. But at the same time, the whole protest movement was about the racism, the unjustified police shootings, all those things that Kaepernick and the Black Lives Matter movement were speaking to, and the core line is that in the national anthem there's talk. One of the verses deals with slavery and Black lives and all that stuff. So that's the core of the protest. You know, do you extrapolate what this decision, the fact that Kaepernick has not gotten a job, Reed, his other 49er guy who's played over here in Philadelphia, he's not been renewed. Clearly, Kaepernick's blackballed, and does this help hinder, draw attention to, or solve the problems that were initially started by this whole thing, the kneeling?
To me, it's just, you know, it is what it is. It's an abrogation of freedom of speech. This country, they changed the rules. They want to change the rules. They always want to make it. Even Trump, when this thing came up, where they said this is what the decision of the NFL was. This cocksucker, you know, he's not smooth enough as a politician. Where, you know, they have the art of double talk. Okay, they know how to equivocate. He doesn't have that ability to equivocate. What did he say? Look, if you don't like this country, maybe you shouldn't be here. We always have that same old thing: you love it or leave it, right? But this whole country, America, was founded on protest. Okay, the Tea Party, that was a protest. Okay, they call the Tea Party today. It was named after the Tea Party back to help the Boston Tea Party, right? It was protest.
Crispus Attucks.
Okay, so this was a protest by this man saying, how can I salute a flag that's supposed to be a symbol of the land of the free and the home of the brave when I'm not free, when my rights are never respected? And people who look like me are unjustly shot down and killed. I'm protesting that. You're going to deny me my right to protest? Yet, my freedom of speech, which is an amendment, you're going to fight tooth and nail for your Second Amendment rights. You're not going to let anybody tell you can't have a gun. If someone says, well, okay, you can have a gun, but why should it be an assault weapon? You got an answer to that. Well, let me have my freedom of speech where I can use it as an assault weapon to say, I don't like what's going on.
Well, it's been said before. Bo Diddley said it. Before you accuse me, take a look at yourself. People in glass houses should not throw stones.
Hmm.
And my own Smokey the Bear was an arsonist, or else
Hmm.
he would have been out of work. He was setting them fire. So just in closing, like we appreciate. I mean, and obviously people are that passionate about what we're saying on the internet. That means that people must care. They must love us, and we appreciate the love. Charles, I'll share with you one. I mean, as much as we're sensitized by some of the criticism, there is a lot of love being spread within the comment section. And today we got to give it up. So I wanted to share this with you, Charles. El Pianzo on the Professor Griff video, Dropping Science, he left a comment. I don't know if he saw it. It says, "This channel has become a daily study for me. As a musician, it's important to me, but as a human, it has become indispensable."
That's beautiful.
If you don't define or defend yourself, people will make assumptions about what the brand is, and I just want to have a little bit of latitude to, if we're going to discuss race, not to just keep it among black folks. Like, talk to some smart white people about it as well. So
Tell me about it. For example, we were having breakfast one morning, and we mentioned Canopy and how we had seen this production by Rice,
or Tim
Wise, Tim Wise,
yeah.
right? Right away, some of the comments were, "Oh man, Tim Wise, that guy, man, he insulted Francis Welsing."
Yeah.
Okay, so then I'm saying, when did he insult Francis? Well, I looked high and low because that's what I said. I learned from the viewers. I want to get my facts straight. So then I listened to what Francis Welsing said. And you know what she said? She heard that Tim Wise had said something about her.
Right. So immediately you're into gossip.
That's hearsay.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is what I'm saying. Let's have our facts together. And then the other thing is, I'd rather take Tim Wise, a white Tim Wise, over what he's promoting about white hegemony and racism, and I'd rather take what he's got to say about how this system is racist than to buy Larry Elder's books and listen to how he's condemning black folks. As I said to a lot of people, we went from a Supreme Court justice, Thurgood, right?
Yes.
We went from Thurgood Marshall to no good Thomas.
Every brother, every brother, and the reality is, people are discovering us every day. This month, making a commitment to put at least 2 videos up a day, and we're seeing growth. And not everybody came into the movie at the same show, so from time to time, we just have to hit the reset button, re-explain what who we are, what we do, why this is important to us, and try and deliver content. But I mean, when the positive things come out, then that makes you feel good about what you're doing. When people are critical, it's sort of like you're ungrateful.
It's better to debate without conclusion than to conclude without debate. Let's be critical thinkers. Let's respect each other, and let's really examine our lives, because the unexamined life is not worth living. That's what I try to point out when I do the street smart things, and just to show you, just to see outside of the box, to be able to look at things differently. And when you're able to look at things differently, you'll see things you never even thought was there. And I'm going to show some tricks how just being trained to see things one way, it denies you the ability to see everything that is really there. I love the channel. I love what you're doing with it. I love the comments, the viewers. I respect them. I just wish everyone peace and blessings.
This is Rufus Down.
put it down. Move your left leg forward and your body too. Do what comes natural when the bull's after you. Now you move your head from side to side. Get switch more liquor and do the bull slide. Yeah, yeah. Look out for the bull.